In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 brutally honest truths about doing your PhD. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Rahul and I'm a third year biomedical engineering PhD student, and I have learned a lot about what it's like to do a PhD. And I want to share with you what I've learned so that you're better prepared to succeed at your PhD. Let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is that a PhD doesn't guarantee a great career. There's this misconception that I often see that getting your PhD almost means that you're guaranteed to get an academic job. Well, this is a lot of people's goals, but in fact, it's very difficult to do it. Less than 20% of PhDs end up becoming tenure-track professors. So chances are you're not going to become a professor unless you really stand out. So make sure to keep that in mind. The next career that people often want to go into, especially in engineering PhDs, is the industry. People often think it's a higher paid job and there's an easier job market, but this idea is also full of misconceptions. The job market, especially right now, is tougher than ever. And honestly, that's contributing to why there are so many people applying and doing PhDs right now. It's because the job market is so tough that people want to boost their credentials. But be mindful of the fact that the PhD on its own will not get you the job. You might end up getting the same job that you could have gotten with a master's degree or a bachelor's degree. The key is to do your research before you get into it. Before you commit 4 to 5 years of your life doing your PhD, think about what type of career that you actually want. Especially when it comes to industry jobs, what I've noticed is that the industry values skills over degrees. And always remember this: skills beat credentials, and use this to your advantage and learn real world skills during your PhD so that you can be very employable when you're done. Another thing that I think everyone should do is to explore multiple career paths. There's so many different careers that you could be in as a PhD, especially in engineering. That opens up even more doors for you. So if you like research and want to stay in research, you can become a professor, which is typically very common. You could be a postdoc, which is typically a stepping stone to becoming a professor, or you could be a research scientist at something like a national lab or an industrial. There's also industry research scientists as well. Alternatively, you can go into the traditional industry. You can be an R&D, research and development engineer or scientist. And oftentimes, a PhD level candidate could be hired as a senior or principal level engineer, which typically equates to about 4 to 5 years of industry experience. So it kind of balances itself out. The years of experience in the PhD kind of equate to the years of experience in industry. Well, I know I'm saying that, but what matters really is what you do during those years. You could also go into government. A lot of people don't know this, but many PhDs end up becoming policy advisors, and they end up working for the national labs. They can work for the FDA. You could work for the National Science Foundation, the NIH. There's so many different jobs out there. And there's also alternative paths as well. You can go into consulting, which is very lucrative. You can go into venture capital. You can become an entrepreneur based on your own PhD project. You can become a patent examiner, or you can become a science writer. These are all skills that you can develop during your PhD, but it's important to decide or have an idea of what kind of career you want to go into and learn the skills that you need for that career during your PhD. The second truth that I want to go over in this video is that a PhD won't make you feel smart. Let's do a reality check. Many people think PhDs are smart, so they do one, and they think, after I put myself through these 4 to 5 years, I will become smart as well. In fact, it's the complete opposite. During the PhD, I have felt so clueless and overwhelmed. And in fact, most people feel clueless and overwhelmed during their PhD. And What this comes down to is this idea of imposter syndrome, which is fairly common. And it's the idea that you'll be found out as inadequate or fraudulent, and like that you don't belong in the PhD class because you're going to see so many people doing great things. However, if you're in a PhD program, you're there for a reason, and you're there because somebody believes in you. Even the best students experience imposter syndrome and doubt themselves. This is a totally normal feeling to have, and it's kind of why the PhD isn't about becoming smart. It's not about learning things, although you do learn things. It's not what the PhD is about. The point of the PhD is learning how to learn and how to use the scientific method and how to become a scientist. I love this quote from Socrates, and it's that the only true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing. And honestly, I think that's essentially what it comes down to. The PhD is all about learning how to deal with not knowing. How do you figure it out? You go through the literature and you find out what you need to know. Then you do an experiment if you don't know something. You need to test a hypothesis to gain new knowledge. That's what the PhD is really about. The final brutal truth I want to talk about in this video is that much of your progress is sadly out of your control. Most people think that hard work equals success. And yes, there is truth to that statement, but this is not a linear curve where the harder you work, the more success you get. If that was true, then everyone would be working super hard and everyone would be super successful. You can work hard and still get rejected. You can still have delays in your research. You can still have to restart experiments. You may have a failed project, no matter how hard you work. Success depends on so many different variables. It depends on your advisor. It depends on your funding. It depends on your reviewers. It depends on the experiments that you're working on. And ultimately, there is some level of luck or fortune that plays a role in your success as well. Now, that being said, you still have to play the cards that you were dealt. You can't just complain about the cards that you have. You still have to play them. And if you realize this, you can operate from that perspective and make the most of your situation. In some ways, doing a PhD is a parallel to life. Like, despite the external success that you might get or not get, what really matters is the effort that you put in, and it's your mindset and adapting to the situation that you have that really enables you to get ahead in life. So even though much of the progress that you may make is out of your control, there are things that you can do so that when things are aligned, you can leapfrog and make like leaps and bounds of progress in your PhD. And that's typically how it works. Progress in the PhD often occurs in like spurts, where you make a lot of progress in a really short period of time, and then there's this troubleshooting period where you're trying to figure things out, and then you make a lot of progress, and then you repeat that cycle over and over again until you finish. Now that wraps up my 3 brutally honest truths about doing a PhD. If you enjoyed this video, I recommend checking out my last video about why most PhD students struggle and how you don't have to.